avut foarte multe momente în viața mea când am fost jos.
When you find yourself in this type of work, everything comes to an end. You don't have any more respect for yourself. Psychologically, you go very low. Many hours of being closed in closed spaces. I could safely say that any woman that finds herself in such places, her soul dies.
So now, Zoe, our main goal is to reach men and women in prostitution, to support them and help them to restore their lives to fullness. And we hope for them to find their voice again, being able to express who they are, who they want to be, what are their desires. But it's a long, long journey.
So for Greece, sometimes it's challenging to be a woman because it's a really, really patriarchal society. Every time that there has been statistics, research in the European Union, we always score last in terms of equality, like last. Every time Greece is last. And that's even worse in the church. And I know it's true because I've talked about it with so many women. And it's interesting because whenever I am in a conversation where it's just women, we always talk about how we feel that we don't have a voice, how we feel that we're completely invisible in the church.
Greek culture is really traditional, and for this reason patriarchal, but they're really reluctant to seeing women in any role in the church. Sometimes we can be really misogynistic. So that, I think that's a huge challenge for any woman who wants to do anything.
Growing up, we didn't have models of women who study the Word of God. My mom never asked a question in the church. She asked my dad, and he asked a question. Even in Bible studies, somehow we didn't have the courage to, and we didn't feel the responsibility that we need to think properly some questions. No one would ask us, so we didn't feel I didn't feel I have to be ready to give any answers. Women also have their own perspective. They will come to the Bible with their own questions.
I'm Myrto Theocharous. I am a professor at the Greek Bible College in Athens. I teach Old Testament, and I'm also the president of Nea Zoe Ministries Against Trafficking and Prostitution, and I'm a Langham scholar. I love the Old Testament. So these structures that come in the book of Deuteronomy have been so inspiring to me, and they reveal to me God's heart for the oppressed, God's heart for the poor, God's heart for a society that is loving and equal and care for each other. All of this is in Deuteronomy, God's liberation from slavery, a new life being given to them, a new blueprint of living life. I was hearing about the work of Nea Zoe, and I was really fascinated by the boldness of these women to go into these areas, go into these streets and brothels. This ministry helps me to focus better on what needs to be answered, what Christ came to do on this earth. He didn't just come to give me a better life, a better salary, a better job, but He came to demolish the structures of oppression. He came to liberate people. He came to liberate slaves. This is how the whole story started, right? I want to see a God of justice there. I want to see the light in the harshest darkness. And if I see it there, then it is true. Then it does exist. Yeah.
Nea Zoe a fost singurul meu sprijin de aici.
Nea Zoe has been my only support here in Greece. At this point, Nea Zoe is my family. It might sound weird, my statement, but here I've met normal people. I feel safe, and I feel and I know that I am not alone. It was not random, my meeting with them, that God made it in such a way that they appear in my way.
Seeing Mirto in a leadership position, being able to use her voice, to use her knowledge to lead others, yeah, it's inspiring. It allows us to be who we are. That's how we want also to serve the women that we work with, to allow them to be who they were created to be.
Mirto Theocharis was a pioneer really, because she's the first one trained with a PhD in Old Testament studies in Greece, and the first woman really. So you have two things there that are really important. We are not called just to speak into these situations with theology, but actually live out our theology, which is something that Mirto does in a brilliant way. She's a pioneer in this as well. She's like a bridge between the world of theology and praxis.
My PhD has opened doors for me because there's many areas where you are not invited to speak if you don't have a PhD. So it does open a lot of doors. And it also, in a world where education is so highly valued and degrees matter because it's kind of a verification that this person has done the work and must know something. So it has been extremely useful in that sense. I'm very grateful for Langham partnership because Langham is really a unique organization. It sees that there's all these individuals in all these different countries that do have a voice, that have something to contribute, not only in their context, but in every context. And for me, Langham is the way that all organizations should be like, to really be curious and to really seek out the voice from these places, from the margins especially, and see what the Spirit is telling the churches.
I think when I see Mirto teach the Bible, I don't feel so alone because sometimes in Greece you get the idea that Christianity is not for you if you're a woman. So by seeing a woman in a leadership position, I think, well, if she can do it, maybe more women will do it in the future.
It makes me so happy to see my students listening to the Spirit, calling them to serve the poor and the oppressed of this world. If this is God's character, if He's the God of the fatherless and the widow, if He's the God of the poor, then listening to the Spirit means that you will express yourself in your ministry in this way. So if I had anything to do with teaching my students to listen, to pay attention to those who are less privileged than they are, then I am a successful teacher.